It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? If you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. Choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to Uncluttered and Unfiltered, the podcast urging you to let it go and don't look back. With nationally acclaimed professional organizer Christine Stone and self-proclaimed hot damn mess radio and TV personality Eden Kendall.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Uncluttered and Unfiltered, the podcast for women over 50. I'm Eden, and Christine is here. Christine Stone is a professional organizer, and oftentimes, as you listen to this podcast, you'll get some tips and tricks along the way, but sometimes it's more about just uncluttering your perceptions of things. So,
I like that. That's good.
Thanks, man. So instead of an episode where we talk about you being a grandmother and people who are not grandparents but wish they were feeling badly about it, we're going to talk a little bit about mourning the idea that you may never have grandkids. And the reason we are going to talk about your grandson is because you might come away from this episode feeling okay with your current situation, whether it's you have grandkids, you do not have grandkids, or you don't know if you ever will, but you really want them, which is me. So there are a lot of points to cover, but before we even do that, there used to be this feeling that if you talked about being a grandparent, you thought about being old.
Right.
A cane.
Right.
You know, if you were to
Gray
say
hair.
as a kid, dress like a grandparent
Grandma.
for Halloween, you'd have a shawl and a cane.
Right.
So I've been feeling a little run down lately. I'm going to tell you, I've gotten to the end of the year and I'm feeling a little tired. And I was looking at, and I hope this is still the case when this airs in a couple of weeks, but I was looking at Jimmy Carter. He had a birthday recently. He was 100 years old.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, I wonder if how I feel right now is how he feels every day when he wakes up, because I felt so run down. I'm like, I think I feel like what it would feel like to be 100. Not right now.
It'd be
I'm better
exhausting.
Than that.
That's
Wouldn't it
for sure.
be so exhausting to be 100?
Yes.
I would be okay with not getting to 100.
Yes. Oh, I'd be okay. Definitely okay. I mean, honestly, I think that, listen, I know everybody's on the longevity train, but how long is long? I mean, you know, at some point, to me, and I've been this way my whole life, if I have no quality of life, and I always gauge it, if I can't go get my hair done in any way, even in an Uber, I'm done. I mean,
stick a fork in you.
Well, you know, I don't want to sit in a wheelchair in an old folks home just staring out the window. To me, that is not quality of life. And where my kids feel like I'm a burden. You know what I mean?
But with all of this longevity push, is there a time where people will be saying, much like they are right now about being 50 and 60, where they say 100 is the new 80? Like, will it be, will there be a retirement home where there are 100 down in the villages in Florida? There's a whole documentary about what goes on down there. Will there be like 100-year-old swinger club at the, I mean, unless we all become like the bionic woman or man where they replace your parts with electronics or something, I don't see that happening. I don't see it in my life either. My husband, Steve, who you all met a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, we were in South Florida a few weeks back, and we were walking down the sidewalk, and this older couple, they looked like they were maybe in their 80s, was walking towards us. So I got off the sidewalk, he got off the sidewalk, and I was almost crunched up into a tree, bent over just to stay out of their way and let them go. Then we walked a little further, and this young woman walked by, and I kept walking, and my husband said, "You didn't even get out of her way. That was rude." And I said, "Excuse me, we got out of the way of that old couple. We're the old couple."
Right, we're the old couple.
I was like, yeah.
You could have tripped on that sidewalk moving over and, you know, believe me.
His mouth opened up so big, he said, "You know what? It didn't even dawn on me.
Yeah.
You're right. We're the old couple.
Right.
She should have moved over." Anyway, all right, let's talk about grandkids. It's tough to be a grandmother. I mean,
Yes.
a lot of people envy and covet that.
Yes.
Oh, and I know you love every minute of it,
Yes.
but that's actually not really real. You can't possibly love every minute of it.
Well, I think everybody's circumstance is different. So for me, and I don't know if anyone out there feels this way, I was a stay-at-home mom, raised my 2 kids, was involved in every single aspect of their life. And I was looking forward, okay, to not having any responsibilities. I was looking forward to sleeping in when I wanted, going to bed when I wanted, going where I wanted, kind of start living my own life for me.
Sure.
Now, some people will say, that's not how I feel. I miss my kids all the time. I wish they still lived at home. Okay. And I think that's great too, if that's how you feel. I just never felt that way. I love my kids. I love when they come over, when they, come for holidays. But I always felt like I did my job. I did it well. Okay. In my opinion. And now it's time for me to live my life. And I think that from what I see on social media, there is a big backlash with 20 and 30 something year olds who feel that they can have the kids and now their grandparents should be raising them. And I was shocked by that. Like, I never thought that way about my own mom, ever. I never, ever thought that way. So I don't even know where this is all kind of coming from. And I know a lot of grandparents on that site, on the social media are saying, listen, I wanted grandchildren, but I didn't want to raise them. I just wanted to enjoy them
and give them back.
Right. And give them back. And now that's become a problem when you give them back. From what I am seeing, I don't know if it's the algorithm I'm on or whatever, but
are you on the unhappy grandparent
I don't
algorithm?
know what I'm on, because I'm seeing all these unhappy children with their grandparents.
It's pissed off grandparent talk.
Well, and so I loved this topic because the topic is having grief if you're never going to become a grandparent.
You grieve the loss of these kids that you never will have in your life.
And I also understand that. Like, listen, if I never had grandkids, because people are probably saying, well, you have a grandkid, you don't understand. I mean, I'm also 62 and just had a grandchild. So it's not like I had them in my 50s, but I think that in this day and age, the world we're living in now, I think that your children should make their own decisions if they want to have kids. With the school shootings, with it, I would be a nervous wreck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think they should have every right,
without pressure,
without any pressure, to have grandchildren. But I also think that what you're not missing out on is the expectations that are put on grandparents nowadays. It wasn't like this. I mean, did you rely on your mom and dad to
Absolutely not. But
raise your children?
I've never lived in the same place. And I know you don't live in the same place, but
even if I did,
but I don't know about the day-to-day care, but what also would concern me is the disregard for your time. Like,
right.
If you have a need for whether it's babysitting or what have you, I tend to think I'm going to say, you just go wherever you want. I can't get enough of this little yummy little baby. I feel like that's how I will be. But then again, I don't have anyone trying to take my time away from me, asking me to.
Well, and I think it all depends. Like, I still work full time.
Right.
So if you're retired and you want to, say, oh, I'll take the baby 3 days. Well, then that's your prerogative. And that's what you should do if that's what you want to do.
It brings you
It
joy.
just shouldn't be something you are requiring. Because in my opinion, if you raise your kids and you did a really good job, you should be enjoying your life right now. You should be traveling. You should be picking up a new hobby. You should be having a second career if you want, whatever it is. And then seeing your grandkids when it fits into your schedule. And I think that if you're a person who's never going to have grandchildren for whatever reason, maybe they don't want them, maybe whatever.
Maybe you don't have kids.
Right.
You know.
Maybe you never had kids. So of course, you're not going to have grandkids. There are so many ways you can give your time to all these kids out there that need grandparents. There are programs that, where you can have a grandparent match with somebody and you can help other kids who don't even have grandparents.
What about that story of the woman who a young man accidentally texted her one day for Thanksgiving?
I saw that.
And they have been having Thanksgiving dinner together for 8 years.
Yep.
She just said, come anyway. And I said, okay.
I mean, I think you have to put yourself out there there's so many mentor programs available. And if you start a mentor program, you can start relationships with younger people and then, have relationships with their kids. It's not, I know you wanted your own, but sometimes life doesn't work out. And I think that's the problem here. Everybody has an idea. I'm going to get married. I'm going to have kids. I'm going to have grandkids. I'm going to live in a white picket fence. And I'm blah, 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 blah. And then when things don't work out the way you had planned in your mind, that's it. It's devastating. And so I think lowering your expectations and enjoying your time with your own kids, because if you make them constantly feel pressured and guilty, they're not going to want a relationship with you.
Correct.
And so I see this in such a different way because I enjoy my grandson so much, but I'm also 62 and he's a little boy and they go. I mean, nonstop. I mean, I leave there and I have to sleep for a day and a half. My neck hurts, my back hurts, from lifting and picking up. It's a different thing when you're older. You want to do as much as you can, but your neck won't let you or your back won't let you or, you don't have the stamina you did in your 30s, 40s, and even early 50s.
So true.
So I think it just depends on how you look at this.
Well, there is a glass half full side to just about every situation.
Right.
So I Googled what are some of the pros and cons of if your kids decide not to have kids or if you don't have kids and you're not going to have grandkids. So here is one of the cons of having grandkids. Okay?
Oh.
You are forced to embrace such newfangled concepts as infant swaddling that requires you to encase the baby in a wrapper like a burrito.
No, it's a straight jacket, I call it. Me and my husband go, why is he wearing that straight jacket? I've never seen anything like that before.
Here's another con. Your best toy procurements fall short. With food crafting memories dancing in your head, you present potholders and those potholders and everything.
Right.
You think all these things you think are great gifts from when, making. Remember when you would make the potholders?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
And I know these are all fun little gifts like craft items. That's not what the kids want anymore. They want the parents will say, "Oh, we're only doing educational, or we're only doing this, or we're only doing that." You can't, and whatever you get isn't just quite right. I think
you have to, though. That's the thing. I think when you're looking at being a grandparent, there's so many different avenues to it. Like it's just not the way it was, and so you have to be open also to taking criticism, taking advice, listening to what they want and how they do things, because it's not how we did things at all anymore. At all.
I had a conversation.
Zero.
Our quality of life matters. Menopause shouldn't take anything away from us. No two women experience it the same way.
And yet none of us are alone.
Hormone Harmony recognizes all of those symptoms we've talked about so much on this podcast, like feeling down and uncomfortable in your own body.
Hot flashes, sleepless nights.
Now it's easier to manage menopause with Hormone Harmony, science-backed herbal extracts called adaptogens. They help the body adapt to stressors like chaotic hormonal changes.
Women cannot stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds.
That really says something. The biggest benefit I'm hearing about is, quote, feeling like myself again. That is what women are mentioning over and over again in their reviews. For a limited time, you can get 15% off on your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code UUPodcast at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code UUPodcast for 15% off today. Uncluttered and Unfiltered is supported by Hearts for Minds. Can you imagine waiting 11 years to get screened for cancer? On average, people with mental health issues experience an 11-year delay between symptoms and seeking help. And close to 2/3 of mental illnesses go untreated. Hearts for Minds promotes healthy lives by promoting mental health education, facilitating early identification, and connecting people to treatment. Are you ready to learn more? Go to heartsforminds.org. That's hearts, the number 4, minds.org for more information or to learn how you can help.
I had this conversation with this young lady a couple of weeks ago, and she does, I can't even remember what her exact job is, but it's some nonprofit organization. And she said that her role is working with grandparents as though grandparents are the enemy, basically, because they don't know how to do anything for the babies. Putting in the car seat correctly. And,
well, that I agree.
Well,
I tried to put the car seat in, and that was like an act of God. So we had to get somebody else to do it.
We're not sleeping tummy anymore.
Oh, no.
That was when my kids
were
were
with
little.
blankets until they're a certain age,
Right.
which me and my husband kept saying, what about a blanket? He must be cold. She's like, we don't do blankets.
Yeah. So you don't have to learn anything new there.
No.
You don't have grandkids, so there you go. So listen, this could be something that you worry about all the time, but it doesn't have to be. But let's talk about this exhaustion that you feel after you leave your little baby boy grandson, because you're chasing after him and his parents are sitting at the playground watching you chase him. And I think that's great. They're just confident that he's not going to fall through holes. And you're just...
They're so confident. I have to say, my son-in-law and my daughter are amazing parents. I, on the other hand, am a neurotic, crazy grandmother because I see things.
You see danger.
I see danger. I see danger. And so they kind of calm me down. Mom, it's okay. We go on this ride all the time. He likes to do it by himself. And that's why I think when my daughter said that one time, I think that's where, to me, raising your own kids can be exhausting because I always felt like I was on guard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I always felt like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And so I like kind of the calmness, but I got to get into it because I'm still that mom. Don't let him touch that. He's going to hurt himself. And I have to calm that a little bit because first of all, it's not my child.
Right.
And second of all, they're doing an amazing job. So I don't have to really step in because they've got it. And that's a whole nother thing. You know, I think stepping back and just, if they want you, they'll let you know. If they need you, they'll let you know. You know what I mean?
Let's talk about holding your tongue because that can't be easy. I mean, obviously you are somebody, you probably have nothing really to criticize, nor would you, but I'm just saying in general, you can't
just say whatever you're thinking.
You want.
No, you have to curb what you're like. You can think it, but you can't say it.
Right.
You think you can say it. And then if you do say it, you're going to think why you shouldn't have said it. Okay. Because, you know, you've raised your kids and that's the look you get. Like, this is my kid. You've raised your kids.
Yeah.
Now it's my turn. And they're right. That's all I'm going to say is they're right. I mean, you got to curb the tongue. You got to curb what you can think it, but think before you say it, which is sometimes hard to do as a mom because moms have instincts and it's not their child to have the instincts with. So
control your instincts.
Yes, control. They've got it.
It's not your offspring.
I keep saying to myself, they've got this. They can do it. They've got this.
But yet the phone does ring numerous times.
Oh yeah. I mean,
and you have the perfect response. Are you venting? Or are you asking for advice?
Yeah.
Because you probably have some, but you don't need to share it if it's not being requested specifically.
Right. Because I think when you take it as they're asking my advice, but they're not, they haven't slept. The toddler was up all night teething. They're tired. You know, you have to look at the situation. And as parents, we know this too shall pass.
Right.
We know, like, when my daughter went to college, I thought, God, I remember when she was colicky and I was so miserable. And I just kept wishing away those years, wishing away. I wish she would do this. I wish she would walk. I wish she would talk. And I would give back any minute of that rocking the colicky baby in the chair, and appreciate it more because you see how fast time goes by. I know we veered off the morning of being a grandparent, but I think you just need to really look at it, being a grandparent through all aspects, and don't put rose-colored glasses on everything because, everybody's life is different. Everyone's situation is different. And
there's a lot of money that you can spend on really fun things if the line stops at your kids.
Yes.
Because now you're not so worried about leaving a legacy for them or contributing to their college fund or anything like that. When there are no grandkids, you have to say, all right, so I can find maybe another child if I feel a need to mentor or give
there are
my love
so many mentoring
so many big
opportunities.
brothers and big sisters,
Yes,
by the way.
many.
You don't have to be a young adult to be a part of a lot of these mentoring programs.
And you can volunteer.
Sure.
I mean, I go to the homeless shelter. There are so many kids there, so many under the age of 10, 12, 15. I mean, that you could have a real relationship with and see them once a week and be that grandparent that brings them the fun things, that does fun things with them. And no, it's not your flesh and blood, but you're doing something for somebody else that they will appreciate it. And so I think you have to look at it like that instead of mourning a decision that your child made. I mean, it's their life. It's a commitment. And my younger daughter sees the hard work that goes into being a mom and a dad and says, wow. You know what I mean? It's hard work.
If you're going to do this, it's not glamorous.
No.
I think there are a lot of young people who see the very glamorous, fun parts about it, which is
on social media.
Start with a shower, a gender reveal. You do all of these great things. You can take all these cute little pictures, and that's cute. But the rose-colored glasses remark was probably the big takeaway in this episode, which is, don't set yourself up for disappointment. It is what it is.
Yep.
I may be grandchildless. I may end up with 20.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
At the moment, I'm going to say I hope it's somewhere in between. But I don't know. And it's not my decision to make.
Well, I also think that the younger generation is having kids later.
Yeah.
And so what I don't think are really understanding, like I had my first grandchild, my first daughter at 28 years old. And that was even kind of considered late back in the day.
Correct.
And so I am 62. So think about that. He's only under 2. So the older you get, the harder it is to take on a role that someone thinks you should take. Because back in the day, you were really only in your late 40s, early 50s when you were grandparents, like my mom was. And so I think they've lost that perspective that what you do when you're younger is totally different what you can do in your late 50s, 60s, even late 60s. You just simply don't have the stamina you once had. And it's not that you don't want to do every single thing they want you to do. It's just you physically can't. You know what I mean?
I am writing a word down right now while we're talking. And that word is stamina. Mm-hmm. We got to do a whole episode on stamina.
Yeah.
Because I am noticing a decline.
Yes. And I noticed a decline, I have to say, like in my, I would say, late 50s, like 57.
Which we had a good run.
Yeah. And so that's why I'm saying I think that with the whole grandparent topic, you have to be realistic that, we're not 50 years old or 48 years old or 45 having a grandchild. I mean, that's just, unfortunately, if you're waiting later to have kids, what do you think?
And
then you're going to get old grandparents.
And there's no doubt in my mind that we have some young 50-year-olds listening who have been grandparents for years and years because late 30s, really, realistically in this day and age. And that presents its own problems.
Right.
So who knows? Everybody's where they are.
Right.
You know,
and don't look at social media, because in social media, it just, to me, gives a false look at what everybody's life is really like. Not the Instagram life, the real life. And so they may be dressing their kids up all in matching outfits and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, but you never know what goes on behind closed doors. As a wise woman once told me, that's my mother. And so you just don't know what's going on in people's private lives. So you just have to enjoy your own life.
Another thing, I don't know if I love it or hate it on social media. Sometimes it's pretty cute when people are pranking their grandparents.
Oh, I think that's hilarious.
So there's one, this is my favorite. Tell me if you've seen this. And with Christmas coming up, I absolutely love this. They wrapped up a bunch of the grandparents' own items, and they're sitting around in the house. And as she's opening her presents, it's dawning on her that every single thing she's opening is her own. She already owned it. They went around her own house, grandma's house, and wrapped up all her own stuff.
That is the funniest thing.
To her. That's one thing. There was another one where they presented, I think it was the parents, but they were grandparent age, a Christmas card with a big family photo and a really warm message. And it was a stranger. It was just somebody they made up. And so the dad's opening the card and he's trying to figure out who this family is. And they're passing it around. And the kids are all laughing because they know it's just some random family that they don't know. And they're like, who are these people? They're like, we can't wait to see you again, and we've missed you. And they call them by name, and like, what is this?
Yeah, so, I could spend hours watching. This is one thing I think is so funny, is spending hours watching some of the pranking this younger generation does on their parents and their grandparents. I find it so funny because the parents or grandparents have no clue because they're not really into the social media thing. So I find it funny.
So
I mean, not mean stuff, just funny stuff.
Just the funny, harmless things.
Yeah.
And see, if you don't have grandkids, you can mark yourself safe from that trend. Right. You're not going to be the one who gets pranked.
Right,
so there you go. Well, I think here's the deal. When it's down to just staying up late and worrying if your kids are going to reproduce so you can have grandkids, you can let it go.
And don't look back.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. And before we wrap up, here are a couple of ways you can support us and stay connected. First, we invite you to join our free Facebook group called Uncluttered and Unfiltered Ladies Only. It's a great space to connect with like-minded women and share your thoughts. Second, be sure to subscribe or follow us wherever you listen. This way you'll be reminded whenever a new episode is released. We'd also appreciate it if you could leave us a review. And if you love what we do, consider giving us 5 stars. We don't know why that helps, but we're told it does. Check out our Patreon page where you can access episodes a day early, watch them on video, and enjoy them without commercials. We'll leave links to some of these things in our show notes. Thank you for your support. Women over 50, we see you and we love you.
Hey, it is Ryan Seacrest. There's something so thrilling about playing Chumba Casino. Maybe it's the simple reminder that with a little luck, anything is possible. ChumbaCasino.com has hundreds of social casino-style games to choose from with new game releases each week. Play for free anytime, anywhere for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.